standard 5-minute countdown, but after 5 minutes, we will be right back and we will talk about Week 8 in the NFL. We'll recap all the games from this previous week, and we'll break down and preview Week 9 in the NFL. So stick around, and we'll be right back.
Ivy. Oh. Sorry about that, guys. Yelled at my dog.
Oh, we're here. We're live, Chris. Another great week in the NFL. Good to see you, buddy. How you been?
I've been pretty good. How's everybody been doing?
Well, I'm doing good. I hope all of our viewers out there are tuning in. If you're late to the show, we're going to talk about, of course, the review of Week 8 in the NFL. We'll preview Week 9. We've got news and notes from around the league. And I guess we'll start with trades are happening. I mean, we had some last week. Now we've got some more here, with the trading deadline, fast approaching. I'm not sure if it ended today or not. I didn't hear anything about that. I think we still got another week to go. But I could be wrong about that. But we got Cam Robinson, tackle for the Jaguars, traded to the Minnesota Vikings. And in another news and notes, just things that I can ramble on and think about that are happening, Stephon Diggs has torn his ACL, so he's out for the season. So any of you fantasy folks out there, make sure you pick up John Mechie at wide receiver for Houston. What else do we need to talk about? News and notes. Chris, what do you got?
Well, here's the thing. I'm just going to start out. Jameson Williams is in the news again. Not just for the suspension today. Basically, it says he trades wide receiver Jameson Williams, who was suspended earlier this month, 2 games after violating NFL performance enhancing policy, was almost arrested on October 8th for carrying a concealed weapon. Why wasn't is now the subject of a Detroit police internal affairs investigation. After midnight on October 8th, police reportedly pulled over a vehicle at a traffic stop inside where Williams and his brother, who were told officers there were 2 guns in the car, one found in the back seat, was registered to the brother, who had a concealed pistons license, while the other was registered to Williams, who did not have a concealed pistol license. That's when officer told Williams he would be taken into custody for carrying a concealed weapon. Williams told officers that he played for the Lions, but he was placed in handcuffs and put into the back of a police car. A sergeant was then called to a scene, and 7 News Detroit reports he immediately recognized Williams' name. Body camera footage also reportedly showed that a Lions logo was on the sergeant's phone wallpaper. The sergeant then reportedly made multiple phone calls to higher-ranking officers, asked if the brothers had killed. Concealed pistol license covered both guns found in the vehicle. Body cam footage reportedly made it seem like Williams was going to be taken into custody, but a phone call from the lieutenant and the sergeant had a different outcome, and Williams was released. Now, Williams can't be in trouble with the law at all. I'm not going to say where he lives, but I know where he lives. He lives from a half mile from Connor and Jefferson, not telling any other than that area. There's a place there in the back that's private, but when you leave there to go anywhere, you do have to drive through some sketchy neighborhoods on the outside of that fence where he lives. So he's probably just carrying a pistol. Then he go get his permit like he should. He probably will now, though. And his brother was driving, got pulled over for a routine traffic stop. They weren't out there blasting guns or being ignorant. They just had the guns for their protection. And that is it. Williams is known to hang out at 6 Mile in Detroit at a Coney Island that's pretty well known locally around here for good food. He's been there twice after big games. So I just want to get that out of there. People don't blow it out of proportion. Obviously, the police are going to get in trouble because they let him go when he should have been taken in, because technically that's what happens when you don't have a permit and it's concealed. But they let it slide. Not his problem. 100%.
Yeah, I mean, I'll tell you what this. This is called selective prosecution. Okay, selective prosecution. He should have been arrested. Okay. Now, I'm glad he wasn't. Okay. He didn't do anything. Second Amendment rights, that's great, Ron. You have the right to have to bear arms. That's great. But you have to have a permit. Okay. You can have it in your home. You can't have a concealed weapon or carry one around on you without certain permits that show that you have passed. Hang on. You have passed your safety, a drill or whatever to make sure that you're not going to accidentally shoot somebody or whatever the case may be. I don't want to turn this show into a political fight over, what he should and shouldn't have done. And, they're going to get in trouble. Obviously, what I find interesting of the whole thing is how it got out that this happened at all. Because the police, okay, are known for covering each other's ass. Okay. So why would they ever let this get out? They let him go because he's a Detroit Lion. The Lions are on a roll. They expect to go to the Super Bowl. They don't want anything getting in the way of it. He didn't hurt anybody. No harm, no foul. See you later. Get out of here. Get a permit. I understand the whole situation. Okay.
Exactly. Actually, to be 100% honest, in Michigan, we do have open carry. But that only counts if he's out of the vehicle walking with the gun at visible to everybody. You can't have it in a moving car and not a case, not in a safe. So either way, that's exactly the only law technically he broke himself was by having his gun. So, I agree exactly what you said. Hopefully he's smart enough to go get a permit now. So he never has to deal with anything.
And when it comes to politics, I'm going to tell you exactly where I stand. Fuck the Yankees. Let's go Dodgers. Come on, Dodgers. I love that they're 3-0. I don't think they're going to get the sweep, but I'd love it if they did. We talk mostly football here, but from time to time you talk hockey. I want to get my 2 cents worth in on baseball. There is nothing better than the possibility of 16 straight years of no New York Yankees World Championships. Thank you so much. Come on, Dodgers.
And them getting swept.
Yeah, that'd be great. Okay, especially if I think they're having a bullpen game tonight. So if they could do it with the bullpen and not have to, they're not using a starting pitcher tonight, that'd be great. Let's get to a couple more news and notes here in the NFL. Former Pittsburgh Steelers wide receiver Deontay Johnson, who was traded to the Panthers this offseason, has been traded to the Baltimore Ravens. Now, I'm not sure why they felt they needed to add this gentleman. Rashad Bateman's been playing great over the last few weeks. I know that they just lost, to Cleveland, but I didn't think it was because of their wide receivers. Okay. They got Zay Flowers, who is going to be a superstar. They mainly use their tight ends anyway with Likely and Andrews. And they've got a great running attack, which is going to get bolstered here real soon. They've had Derrick Henry, and then they've got Justice Hill, who does the swing passes and the screens and the things that, like a third down receiving back. But Keontae Mitchell will be back real soon from his ACL tear from last year. And so, yeah, there's a few other positions Baltimore could have traded for. I didn't look to see, and Chris, you might look this up while we're, bullshitting here. Is the trading deadline over? Or, or is this stuff, is it, or we still got another week to go? Because
we've
had, is it next week?
Yep, next Thursday.
Okay, so I mean, we still got to see some more. The lower on the totem pole type of trades that I saw, I couldn't believe this. Well, I want to know why starting left tackles like Cam Robinson get traded for 6th-round picks. How come it's a low pick, 6th, 7th round, a swap of picks and things like that? Then you've got a dynamic pass rusher, 26 years old, plays for the New England Patriots at the time. His name is Joshua Usay. And he gets traded for a 6th-round pick to Kansas City. I mean, we're just going to get a stronger pass rusher. I mean, I'm not mad, but why were we able to get him for such a low, figure? Why are all these players going for low figures? Why is there not, like Devontae Adams goes for what's going to end up being a 3rd-round pick at most, which is amazing to me. Amari Cooper, almost the same, situation. And yet, we've got these players that are out there that in the offseason, you get 1st-round draft picks and you get, a 1 and a 3 and, and all this kind of stuff. But in season, really low draft compensation, Chris.
I'm thinking over the years, because this is the kind of tendencies we go back a few more years and remember the crazy trades we've seen happen with all the capital that's left teams. We've seen that happen in the past quite a few years. But look how much times we've seen that team give all that capital, struggle, and it never work out for them. And then they pay the piper for the next few years because of what they did. So I'm starting to think that this is teams and GMs now today, they're not willing to give up those big draft picks anymore. And so when teams are desperate to move players for capital, they're having to take sometimes lower picks than they truly wanted to get for the guy. But that's just me personally. I think that's what it is. GMs are valuing them draft picks a little bit more today because you've seen teams have success with draft picks. If that makes sense. I
think that the reason why, it's low draft compensation is because you've got these teams that are not winning franchises right now. They know they're not going to be winning, much more this season. And these guys are probably going to be getting pretty good chunk of change contracts, and they're not going to be able to re-sign them. They're not going to afford them, or they don't want to re-sign them. And they're like, we could get something for this guy now rather than letting him walk away for free in the offseason. He's not going to do us any good. Jacksonville, I think this is running up the white flag for Jacksonville. Carolina, we already knew it was over there. As far as some of these others, I think that the inability to afford Amari Cooper, and I don't think they knew in Cleveland. I don't know how they couldn't know that they had a legit quarterback on the team with Jameis Winston, that he could come in and play the way he did. And so, I think they just felt like they couldn't afford Amari Cooper. That's why, and he wanted to be traded, and that's why he got out of Cleveland. Devontae Adams obviously wanted to be traded. It's been in the wind for over a year that he wanted to reunite with Aaron Rodgers. Good luck there, going forward. But, I think that when it comes to in-season trades, a lot of the draft compensation is low because they'd rather get something than nothing. And that's why they're happening this way.
It's weird. I mean, we could just go off what's happening. I mean, because if you ask me, I would never predict Adams would be stupid enough to go to another shitty franchise. Just to play with a friend at this point in his career. I mean, but you know what? It's shame on him and Aaron Rodgers. Because if I was Aaron and I was Adams and I was hanging out in the same apartment I would be honestly, fuck the coach. Just throw me the ball. We're going back school bullshit. That's how I would look at every game because it don't matter what they call. It's not working on offense side of the ball anyway. So
they need to immediately turn it around on Thursday night. And, I mean, I think they're going to have a chance. And I think the reason they'll have a chance is because Houston's lost another big-time weapon. And if they can stop the run, and we'll talk about that when we get to our preview of week number 9.
Ron says dumping players to get better draft pick in 2025 with the thought there would be more losses to get them better picks. He also said, just got done looking at the bottom 10 teams that are up for good draft picks. Some surprises, some not so many surprises.
Yeah.
And then he said, well, Adams might be an ass out, but because I'm beginning to think Rodgers may not be back after this year, and I mean retirement. I mean, they were just talking about his play, and I don't think he'll retire because it's Aaron Rodgers. I think I think a team's really gonna have to fight Aaron Rodgers off the roster. That's just my opinion. But I would say if he keeps playing like this, it's time.
Well, I mean, the trading deadline hasn't passed yet. They can always send him to the Vikings, and then he could follow the Brett Favre school of quarterbacking.
I mean, you got a point. And then get his ass beat by Detroit.
Yeah, well, that's fine. That's fine.
And I didn't mean that as a shot at the Vikings. I just meant that as a shot.
No, you're fine. You're fine.
Well, I just wanted to make sure you understood what I was saying.
I'm good. I'm all right. Let's move on to our recap of week number 8. And, of course, that begins with the Thursday night game. And
hey, Ron, do you want to tell them or do you want me?
Huh?
The streak's still alive, David.
Oh, you go ahead. The streak's alive. Yes. Every
streak's
team
alive. Another team bites the dust.
Lions immediately loses the next week because of how hard they had to play against the Lions.
Even though I will admit the Vikings got screwed at the end of that game.
Yeah, well, and that's what I was going to say. I mean, we've got controversy right out of the gate. And, that is, what I've talked about. Many, many times on this program, we need a sky judge. And even if we don't have a sky judge, I have been satisfied, complicit, agreeable, if you will, with after discussion on the field, the call is so-and-so. After expedited review, the call is so-and-so. After hearing from New York, the call is so-and-so. And yet, for many instances on the field this year, last year, we have seen it. We have seen them have what they call an expedited review. We've seen the referees get together, and they've been doing it for years, where they get together and they talk about what happened and then make a ruling. How in the hell can this guy get his face ripped off, okay, in the end zone, and we're going to call it a safety? There are cameras that show he had his head ripped off. The referee's looking right at him. Can you say Vegas is in their pockets? Okay? That's the only explanation. New York could have told him the call on the field was wrong, and they'd have changed it. Yeah, the play's not reviewable. Well, that doesn't mean we can't have a discussion on the field. And after discussion, which they've done 100 times, I want to read this now, so don't take it off the screen. After 100 times, they've used it in all these other games. Why was it not okay in this game? Okay. How was it suddenly not okay? Ron says, good game on Thursday, but I want to get this out there in real time. play, all I saw was the defensive player grab the shoulder pad, and until I saw the replay, I saw how they got screwed. But the human eye could see something else in real time. That being said, at least it wasn't the Lions this time. Right, but listen, once again, they show it on the Jumbotron. It doesn't have to be reviewed. They listen to New York in their little headphone all the time. They get together and discuss things and then make the ruling. Why was it not done this time? Why?
Exactly.
Okay. There is not a standard of officiating in the NFL. Okay. Which is why, as a gambler, they're in bed with the gamblers. Okay. And if they, everybody was betting on the Vikings, everybody was betting on a certain number, everybody was betting on, oh, look, Cooper Kupp and Puka Nacua are suddenly back. We didn't hear anything prior to the game about Puka Nacua being back. He's the leading receiver on the team that night. Okay. So, I mean, all of the things that go into that, people got screwed. I think the Vikings got screwed. Now the Rams are fully formed and have all their people back, we could start assuming that the Rams are going to be winning some games. They're in a pretty safe spot at 3-4. I'm not real disappointed in the Vikings. They'll have 10 days to get ready for their next game. And, they're not going to win them all. So I'm just mad about the way that the whole thing went down.
Yeah, agreed.
Baltimore Ravens lose to the Cleveland Browns. Jameis Winston goes off for over 300 yards, 3 touchdown passes. The defense for the Browns, held Lamar Jackson and Derrick Henry in check. Okay? They kept them, they kept them out of the end zone. They did what they had to do, kept them on the other side of the field, keeping them out of their territory so that the long field goals wouldn't be a factor with, Justin Tucker. And, it's too bad that they gave up Amari Cooper already, although I think Cedric Tillman looks like the alpha dog at wide receiver now for Cleveland. And now Baltimore, who everybody was crowning last week, feels like they have to go out and trade for a wide receiver because of this loss. Yeah, inexcusable loss for Baltimore, but that's why you play the games. Yeah, I wouldn't be mad either. Hell, I'm not mad at all. Chiefs are 2 full games ahead. 2.5 technically against Baltimore because they played head-to-head.
Yeah.
Titans, we knew that the Titans were bad.
I'll give them credit. They made it look like a shootout.
They hung in there in the first quarter, and then the Lions defense took over to the part where their defense and special teams were so good, Jared Goff did not have to throw for 100 yards in the game, and they still put up 52, Chris. Brag on your team.
There was at one point he had 48 passing yards with 3 fucking touchdowns. I'm not even exaggerating. That stat had me rolling all day Sunday. And just think of this. In the last 4 games, the Detroit Lions offense by themselves have put up 172 points in the last 4 games.
Yeah. Laying the smack down
was a dog.
Yeah, hey, I picked him up in one of my fantasy leagues because I didn't realize that he was, the punt returner, the returner and everything. And he's starting to get some catches between the return yardage and some catches. Hell, he might be worth a pickup there. Yeah, 85
That's still
yards.
Crazy. 85 yards, 3 touchdowns, 0 picks.
Oh, my goodness. Well, then we get to one of the strangest things we've ever seen, heard about, I should say. The Colts have played the Texans tough in both their matchups. Opening day, the Texans squeaked by a very similar score and win the game, against the Colts in Indianapolis. And then here we have the Colts playing at Houston. And a couple of times I really thought that the Colts had the Texans on the ropes. And Anthony Richardson is running for his life, but he picks up the first down. He gets out of bounds. He gets down the field. He does everything that he can. And then I watched him, and he's tapping his helmet. He's tapping out because he's got to come out of the game. And we're all like, oh, my God, what happened? Because, it didn't look like a bad hit. I started to have flashbacks of Tua Tagovailoa where he barely gets hit and something's wrong, but he was aware that something's wrong. No, I'm just tired, Chris. From running around, I'm going to check out of the game, and that's why, Ron, he has been benched as the starting quarterback of the Indianapolis Colts because he let everybody know the reason I'm out of the game while you all are working your asses off, running, down the field and doing everything you can to be a winner, I'm going to go to the sideline because I need to take a break. I'm tired.
See, I didn't know all that. I thought I read an article while I was out working, and I thought they said it was just for a drive. I didn't know it was for the remainder of the game, but that's
no, he came back in. He went back in, but the problem was that it was third down. Okay, it was third down, and they could have scored a touchdown on that drive, and instead he taps out. Flacco comes in. Basically, the drive stalls. I think they settled for a field goal on that drive. And his reasoning for getting out of the game was because he was tired. I
would have benched him right then and there. I'm surprised they went back in the game.
So anyway, Texans, we talked about it. Stephon Diggs is out now for the season with a torn ACL. That is two of their wide receivers that are now on injured reserve, along with Nico Collins. I mentioned it earlier. You're going to want to pick up John Mechie in your fantasy football leagues. Of course, he'll be paired with Tank Dell, and they'll probably start using their tight ends a little bit more. And, the Jags hung in there the whole game against the Green Bay Packers. Packers have struggled on the road at Jacksonville the times they have been down there. But they managed to pull this one out. Jordan Love ended up having to leave the game with a knee injury that looks like he's going to be fine. But Malik Willis came in, threw a touchdown pass, and righted the ship and kept them ahead. And so Packers moved to 6-2. Jaguars dropped to 2-6, and it's not looking good going forward with Jacksonville. They've got a tough schedule ahead of them. And I think Doug Peterson should be on the hot seat, coach's watch. I assume he'll make it to the end of the season, and then they'll make a decision at that time. But I just hope that Jacksonville can win a few more games. I like Doug Peterson as a head coach. He managed to win a Super Bowl in Philadelphia. I just think that between injuries, maybe some players that have lack of focus, that's the reason that, Jacksonville's turned the ball over too much trying to run the ball. They have not run the ball well this year until they put Tank Bigsby in. Travis Etienne was not doing well ever since he fumbled on opening day against Miami. He's been injured the last couple of weeks. Now, supposedly he's going to be back this next week, but I wouldn't start him. I'd stick with Bigsby. And then the thing that's interesting to me, and this is a fantasy football deal here, Green Bay had Jaden Reed kind of as their number one receiver. Romeo Doubs throws a fit about his role in the offense, gets suspended for a game because of conduct detrimental to the team, and ever since he's come back, Jaden Reed has had a bit part, and Romeo Doubs is the number one receiver for Green Bay. I don't know if his plan worked out or the coaches made changes to appease him or what the deal was here, but I find it interesting that all the other wide receivers are getting more play, and Reed is like fourth wide receiver suddenly when he was a number one guy earlier in the season. Me complaining about fantasy football.
Hey, it happens. Fantasy football has been a year, but I agree Doug Peterson should be in the hot seat. I think he should. He's been fired because this has just been a circus. Yeah. Made the playoffs, 2 years ago, and then it's been round and round on the mirrors.
They were great last year, halfway through the season, and they collapsed just like Philadelphia did. The only difference is Philadelphia made the playoffs, and
he got a piece of a running back. I get it. We discussed it last week. It's just, to me, you got to stick with the hot hand.
Yeah.
I'm not saying not to use, what's his name, the number one. I can't think of his name right now. But Bigsby is proven to actually, get your offense rolling with the run. Switch them off and on, and that offense could be explosive. I don't know why they haven't done that yet.
Tua Tagovailoa returned to the starting lineup for the Dolphins, and for a while in this game, it looked like a revelation. They scored the most points that they've scored since he has been knocked out. The running game was alive. He got the ball to his receivers. But the defense of the Arizona Cardinals stopped them just enough times to come out with a victory in Miami. The Cardinals, who I claimed a couple weeks ago, were not the scrappy team we remembered from last year, suddenly have become scrappy again, and they managed to get this victory on the road, Chris.
Yeah. This game ultimately cost me my fantasy matchup because I forgot Deshaun on my damn bench. I was honestly debating on switching, keep not playing him this week, and then Tua's back, so I was like, yeah, he should be back to his normal self. That screwed me, but they need to get going, and the Cardinals, the Rams are only 3-4. They got a chance at the wild card.
Yeah, they're still in the thick of it. All those 3 and 4 teams are starting to get healthy. They're starting to get things turned around. It's like, just like we talked about the first couple of weeks of the season, it's like because they don't have, the kind of people that are playing in the preseason, it's like the preseason, is the first 4 weeks of the year. And whether you win or you lose, it doesn't really matter. But after the first month of the year, we start to find out who you really are. And for some teams, that means you are not 2-2. You are 2-6, like the Jets, who go on the road and they handily beat the Patriots earlier this year on Thursday Night Football. But against Drake May and the New England Patriots, they just couldn't stop them defensively. The defense, the turnovers, missed field goals, penalties, the Jets self-destructed. And the Patriots played tough football at home in front of their home crowd and showed what the future of the franchise may look like. I know that the Jets just got Hassan Reddick, and he's probably not in game shape. And the Jets just got Devontae Adams, and he probably, even though he's familiar with the system, doesn't remember the whole playbook. But I point the blame for all of this catastrophe and bullshit that's happening with the Jets solely on Aaron Rodgers. Okay? He's the guy that has to be the leader of the team. He's got to get people off their asses and playing hard because you don't have a coach, okay? You don't have, people in place that were there at the beginning of the year to try and, motivate and push this team. And he's got to be the one to do it offensively. Quinnen Williams should be doing it defensively. And, I still believe this team is capable of turning things around. But, it's not looking good. And because it's happening in New York, the sky is falling on ESPN. The sky is falling on Fox because it's happening in New York with the big expectations that they had. Okay? And so, I look at both these teams will be lucky to get close to 500 by the end of the year. But I think both of them are going to end up with high draft picks, Chris.
Yep, I think so too. Maybe
Atlanta manages to go into Tampa Bay. Tampa, of course, is missing their top two wide receivers, but Kirk Cousins threw it all over the place. They managed to run the football pretty effectively, and Atlanta seizes control of the NFC South with a 31-26 victory over Tampa in Tampa.
Yeah, that was a big game. Tampa just came short. But, I still think Tampa has enough time to get it back. For some reason, I think the Atlanta, they just keep flip-flopping back and forth. 1 week, they play good. They might get 2 weeks they play good, and then the third week they just
inconsistent.
Lose.
Yep.
So, I still think that's going to be a battle for first spot. I still think Tampa can win it. He still thinks he's pulling the trigger on Sleach so soon was a mistake. David's probably right because of Rodgers demanding he be fired. Tampa is a mess.
There's a lot of problems receiver-wise in Tampa. I think they can lean on their tight ends and their running backs, but I wouldn't be surprised at all if they made a trade here or there trying to pick up a wide receiver, somebody that might be familiar with their system. Maybe somebody will come from the Rams now that they got their top two guys back. They're running the Ram-style offense because the coordinator, the head coach, or the coordinator, I should say, came from L.A. So we may see a receiver from there go to Tampa before it's said and done. The Eagles have woken up, guys. It all started last week with a victory over the New York Giants, and they have started to roll. And Jalen Hurts looks like he did 2 years ago when the Eagles went to the Super Bowl. They go into Cincinnati, a place the Eagles had never won. They were 0-4 previously in Cincinnati in their history. And their defense locked down on Joe Burrow. They kept him from running the football at will. The Eagles played great offense. They got their wide receivers into the game. They're both back and healthy, and A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith. Now, they're still missing Dallas Goedert, but the tight end that was in there, his name starts with a C and eludes me. But he played great. Saquon Barkley is doing his job. And the Philadelphia Eagles, I know they're right behind the Washington Commanders right now, but I think they've got the ability and the talent to catch up and overtake them. And Cincinnati is looking woeful going forward. They have some extremely tough games, especially on the road. And I think that is a situation where the head coach, they didn't make it to the playoffs last year. If they don't make it to the playoffs this year, and they've got these big contracts that they're going to end up having to hand out if they're going to keep T. Higgins, Jamar Chase. It's not looking good for the future in Cincinnati. They went from Super Bowl just a few years ago to back to where they were before, Joe Burrow arrived there.
It's crazy how fast stuff can change.
Well, and then we've got the New Orleans Saints, who have been playing with Spencer Rattler. They don't have a bona fide, quarterback on the roster without Derek Carr. Carr is looking to return this week, and because Rattler doesn't have experience, you've got them turning the ball over. They've got penalties. They've got, special teams issues with the Saints. They go on the road, and Jim Harbaugh's team does what Jim Harbaugh's teams do. Grind you into dust with the ground game. Pick up some nice chunk yardage through the air. Ladd McConkey came back from being injured the previous week, put up some huge numbers. He's the alpha dog now at wide receiver with Quentin Johnston out right now. And, the Chargers, I know the Saints are a weakened and hurt team right now, but the Chargers are starting to look the part of a playoff team as we close in on the halfway point of the season.
Yeah.
So I was stunned. I really thought the Seattle Seahawks were going to give a better game to Buffalo, but Buffalo goes on the road to the West Coast, and they put it on Seattle. And that just tightens up the NFC West playoff run here between them and the Rams and the 49ers and the Cardinals. They're all hovering around 3-4, 4-4. They're all in that division. And so as tough as everybody having a great record in the NFC North is, the NFC West is just as tough with mediocre around 500 records as they're going to be beating each other up down the stretch here.
Sorry about that.
Did you catch any of that game between Buffalo and Seattle?
No, I didn't. I don't think I had it on YouTube TV.
Josh Allen and James Cook. Keon Coleman looking good at wide receiver again. Of course, they're utilizing their tight ends. And then we get to the Hail Mary game. Matt Eberflus should be fired. Okay? They wanted to fire him last year, but they're going to give him another year, and things were starting to look good. Things were really coming along here early on. The Bears looked like they were getting better and better and better. Then they have a bye week, and they come back and play against the Commanders. Now, granted, the Commanders are a really good team this year. They have overcome a lot. Jaden Daniels overcame his injury from last week, but you cannot hand the football to an offensive lineman when you're on the goal line and you have excellent running backs.
Yeah.
Okay? That's the first mistake. They're beating it to death on ESPN. They're beating it to death on all the sports channels. You cannot allow them to just pick up 13 extra yards before you know they're going to throw the Hail Mary. Romo knew it on the screen, on the TV. We all knew it at home. They do it. The guy dancing in the end zone making fun of people is a complete jackass. And for as many times as they claim they practiced that play, it was not executed correctly. The Bears deserve to lose this game. And if the Bears do not make the playoffs, it'll come down to this game right here because their schedule is brutal going forward. It's not Caleb Williams' fault, okay? He did what he was supposed to do in this game. He drove them down, and he put them in the lead. Washington was just a better team. More disciplined, better execution. Their defense played wonderfully. And I had the Bears winning this game because I thought their defense would be better than Washington's, and that was not the case.
Nope. And, he has to live with that play because he's the one that tipped the ball right to Brown. That same guy that was taunting the crowd is the guy who tipped it.
Yeah. Well, obviously Carolina is Carolina. Denver is doing their same things. They're shoring up their team. They're running the football. Bo Nix is playing adequate football at the quarterback position. And the Broncos' schedule has not been, overly hard to this point. And so they're picking up wins here and there. And, this one was not necessarily an easy win for them. But, everybody probably penciled this one in before the game begun, and they weren't going to be wrong. And now that Carolina has, traded away their best wide receiver, you may see a lot more of Xavier Leggett, as the number one guy in Carolina, their first-round pick rookie. But, the woes continue for Carolina, and Denver is continuing to improve week after week. And then I get to Kansas City playing at Arrowhead West in Las Vegas. And the Chiefs continue to do exactly what they have done all this year, just enough to win the game. They run the football. They keep it away from the other team. Their defense causes turnovers. Their defense had a huge goal line stand in the fourth quarter to basically put it away. They traded and got DeAndre Hopkins this last week, and he played 23 snaps, had a couple of catches, doesn't know the system yet, but for the plays that he was in, he looked productive. And I think that's a good thing for Kansas City. They know that they're not going to have, the two wide receivers they planned on being 1 and 2 this year back this season in Hollywood Brown and Rashee Rice. Now, I expect that Juju Smith-Schuster will come back in a few weeks, but he's got a really hurt hamstring. The Isaiah Pacheco is probably a week or two out from returning, which will really bolster their running game. I think there is a significant drop-off from Pacheco and Hunt to Carson Steele. I think early on the fad, was good, but now the offensive linemen are beat up a little bit from being through the season, so they're not opening the holes quite as wide as they were earlier. And as far as the Raiders are concerned, they played the Chiefs tough. They kept it close, but penalties and turnovers doom them to failure every time, and that's what happened in this game.
Yeah, I was going to say, I didn't get to catch of this game, but it was pretty close from what I've seen. Damn it, Raiders.
Yeah. San Francisco 49ers beat up on the Dallas Cowboys for a long time in this game. The Cowboys managed to make a little bit of a comeback, but to be honest, the Cowboys still cannot stop the run. Their defense gets gashed. They don't have any pass rush, missing Micah Parsons and DeMarcus Lawrence. And so, I think the writing is on the wall that the Cowboys are not going to make the playoffs this year, despite them, having a little bit of a comeback right here. I say that, as they're 3-4, and they can always prove us wrong if they get some people back that are healthy. But I just don't feel like that, besides a few stars on their team, the rest of the team is pretty mediocre.
Yeah.
They brought in Dalvin Cook to run the football. They signed him off the practice squad. He has been there all throughout the beginning of the year with the team. He finally gets an opportunity to do something. And between him and Ezekiel Elliott, they couldn't manage to get 70 yards against San Francisco. So they can't run the football. It's all about being pass happy, and he throws it to CeeDee Lamb almost every time, and if there's good coverage, he gets picked off.
Yep. Ron brings a good comment here. Dallas even had a bye week and still on the Lions hangover, because technically you can't count it because they had a bye week, but I'm going to throw it in there anyway because the last team they lost to before last week was the Lions.
Well, the Giants look like they found themselves a running back at Tyrone Tracy. He played really well, and the offensive line opened up some holes against the Steelers, but the Steelers, with their passing game, they've opened up their offense, and between that and their defense, Najee Harris and Jalen Warren are a great duo running the football. I really like the Steelers going forward. If they continue to play the way that they have the last 2 weeks, they're going to put up a lot of W's before this season's over. Steelers are going to get into the playoffs. The Giants, not so much. They still got some big-time games to play, going forward. They've already got 6 losses. I would not fire the coach, okay? I would not fire the coach. I think that their defense has shown signs that they can play well. I'm not plussed with the quarterback. I think they need a new quarterback, and they need to help, some more help on their offensive line. But, they're just playing a tough schedule this year, and some weeks when they play their best football, they're playing against an opponent that's just so much better than them, they can't outscore them. And so, I think that the Giants can be a good team, and I look forward to seeing what they can evolve into, with the players that they drafted. If you watched the broadcast last night, all 5 of their first 5 draft picks are starters, okay? So they have a base within which to grow this team and build around and do something special there. And I think that they can. But they're in a rough division. Dallas always plays decently, even when they're not any good. Washington is on the upcome. Philadelphia has returned to form. And so, they're going to have some struggles because of how tough their division is. But I think if they get them a better quarterback, I think the Giants could be a formidable team next year. But they're not going to be this year.
Yeah, they need to get the better QB play. So they're 2-0. They're 2-0 with Russell Wilson, though, at the helm.
Yeah, Pittsburgh's looking pretty good. They got to contend. Pittsburgh defense wins again. Yes, sir. Yeah.
All right, real quick, I want to share something here.
Okay.
Just your question. Just curious on what would you do? What would you guys do?
Okay. Let me get back here so I can see what you got here.
So here we go. This guy got a 5-leg parlay. He predicted Connecticut to win the men's basketball championship in 2004. He hit. He predicted the Celtics to win the championship. He hit. He predicted the Panthers to win the NHL Stanley Cup. He hit.
Oh, I've seen this.
So he got the Dodgers wins tonight. It's already worth 4,000, but the Rogers win. But if LA wins, it's going to go up. So what do you do?
Well, yeah, but here's the thing. Okay, here's the thing. If he waits for the Dodgers to win, is the casino going to say he can no longer cash out? Is there a timetable? Is there a timetable on how long, it's going to be before you can cash out? Because once it gets to week 9, you can no longer cash out, and you waited too long. The Dodgers, ended up going back to LA and winning 4-2, or some shit like that. and the Jets lose on Thursday Night Football, and because they lose, you can't cash out and get all that money because there's no fucking way the Jets are winning the Super Bowl. Okay,
I think he should be good, and the only why I think he should be good is because the fact is I don't see $1 million being the casino letting $1 million ride for the whole season. Maybe now, maybe not. Maybe they have the option where they can switch it anytime they want, and they know the Jets ain't going to make the playoffs. I don't know if it works that way.
If they lose Thursday night, I almost guarantee you this cash out's not going to be available again. 7 losses, they're going to immediately shut it off and be like, oh, well, you can't cash out. If the Dodgers do not win tonight and sweep the Yankees, I would cash out immediately. Do not allow the Jets to play another game and lose all that money. Because you did a great job with your parlay till you picked the Jets at the end.
Exactly. I don't know why the hell you picked the Jets. I would have felt better by my odds if it was the Chiefs or the Lions or somebody in realistic anyway.
Well, Freddie Freeman bashed another 2-run home run, and the Dodgers are up 2-1 in the top of the third.
Now, I did see in a notification, I think that might have been granted to him because it said they said something about the Yankees hit the ball and the one outfielder for the Dodgers went to go catch the ball and the fan stole the ball away. I just heard that. I seen a notification come across from ESPN.
Yeah, well, then that would be for the Yankees, not for the Dodgers.
Yeah.
If the Dodger player was catching it. Does he predict the Lions to win it all is what I really want to know. No, he picked the Jets to win it all, and that's why he needs to cash out.
Pretty much.
Freeman is going to be a World Series MVP. Especially if they go ahead and sweep it tonight, he'll be the MVP. The Grand Slam set it off, and then they've just dominated ever since. Good pitching, but all right, let's take a look now at week number 9 in the NFL, our preview. Of course, we were talking about the Thursday night game. And the Jets are playing Houston. And, I mean, they got a chance to win because Houston is injured. Houston's going on the road. But I'm taking the Texans. I think that Joe Mixon can run the football down their throat because their defense is not nearly what it has been. I think C.J. Stroud can avoid any pass rush that comes his way. Run down the field, pick up some yardage here and there, a la Patrick Mahomes. I think it'll be a close game, but like 27-20, Houston wins.
Same here. I got Houston.
Derek Carr is supposed to be back for the Saints against the Carolina Panthers, and if he is, Carolina's got no chance of winning the game. I'll take the Saints.
I'll take, if Carr's back, Saints. If Carr's don't play, I'll give Young another victory to his name.
Washington Commanders come off that unbelievable victory with the Hail Mary. They go on the road to the Giants, who played them tough last time. The Giants technically should have beaten Washington earlier in the year in Washington, but they didn't have a field goal kicker. Well, both these teams are a little different than they were earlier in the season. I think that Washington has gotten better, but I think the Giants have gotten better. But I think that the superior team on the field is Washington. I think they'll win the game.
I got Washington.
Well, here's Tua Tagovailoa playing against Buffalo, the team that knocked him out. and they're going on the road to Buffalo. And Buffalo has been beating up on some teams the last few weeks. And so, they're playing at home. I know the Dolphins will be in a better rhythm because Tua's back for the second week in a row. But I think that Buffalo is overall the better team. This is a lost season for Miami. Give me the Bills.
Bills.
Los Angeles Chargers at the Cleveland Browns, and this is going to surprise a few people. I'm taking Cleveland because I like Jameis Winston at quarterback. I think that he's going to be a revelation. They're going to run off some victories with him at the quarterback position. The defense can stop the run of the Chargers. That means they'll have to throw. He's got basically a rookie wide receiver and a bunch of guys who are number 3 receivers at best on that team. I think their pass rush can get to them. It's on the road for the Chargers. Give me the Browns, Chris.
I'll take the Browns.
New England Patriots and the Tennessee Titans. Tennessee was embarrassed, this last week against Detroit. And, they're going to be playing at home here. I think they'll play much better against New England. But I think that New England has a better defense. Okay? I think New England has got a better defense. I think that they're going to go on the road. They are on a roll now after they beat the Jets. They showed what they could do. Drake May's going to run for his life a little bit, but he's going to get the ball down the field to Boudier and some other guys. And I just think that Tennessee, they kind of waved the white flag when they traded DeAndre Hopkins. And they're looking to make some other trades to lighten some of their salary cap load for next year. So give me New England in this matchup.
Give me New England because, like Ron says, they just lost to the Lions. The streak continues.
Well, then you got Dallas on the road at Atlanta, and I got to be honest, Atlanta plays so inconsistent. But what they do have is some pretty damn good corners. And I think that if they can lock up CeeDee Lamb, and we know Dallas can't run the football worth a damn, I'm going to take Atlanta in the matchup.
Atlanta.
Raiders at the Bengals, and the woes continue for the Raiders. I like the Bengals in this matchup. I think that, the Raiders cannot run the football, but the Bengals can. And I think they're going to run right down the throat of the Raiders.
I got the Bengals.
Broncos at the Baltimore Ravens.
Ron says Raiders.
Really? Well, that's all right. That's all right. Broncos at the Baltimore Ravens. And, of course, Baltimore's defense against rookie quarterbacks is always phenomenal. I think it won't be because he's not prepared. Sean Payton does a great job with his quarterbacks. I think they'll do the best they can to try to run the ball, keep it out of the hands of Lamar Jackson and Derrick Henry. And I think this will be a close game. But I like Baltimore. They're just the better team.
I got the Baltimore Ravens in this one.
Too much outside noise involving the Chicago Bears this week because of what happened. I like Kyler Murray and the Arizona Cardinals to knock the Bears down a notch this week.
Yeah, I got the Cardinals.
Philadelphia is on a roll. They're back, playing the kind of football that we are accustomed to seeing them play a few years ago. Jacksonville comes to town. They just gave away their left tackle. Who's playing left tackle against this defense? Give me the Eagles.
I'll take the Eagles.
Matthew Stafford's got his wide receivers back. Seattle did not look good against Buffalo, and the Rams have a more powerful offense when they are fully formed. Give me the Rams on the road to claim the lead in the NFC West.
I got the Rams too.
Detroit Lions coming off a big blowout victory over the Tennessee Titans, playing at the Green Bay Packers, who barely escaped from the Jacksonville Jaguars in Jacksonville. Detroit's on a roll. You know, if this game would have been played 3 weeks ago, I think it would have been a completely different game. I know Green Bay is going to have something for Detroit, and it'll be a fun, close game early on. But I think Green Bay turns the ball over too much. I've seen Jordan Love throw the ball into coverage. You know, he's had some overthrows. I've seen him throw it into coverage a couple times. While I think their running game can keep them in the game and keep Detroit's offense off the field, the overall better team is Detroit, and Detroit's going to win in Green Bay.
Yep. You already know I got the Lions, so.
Yeah, you'd never pick against your team, so I'm not surprised.
I have picked against my team.
I cannot name the last time you picked against your team. Do not
this year I've been very confident.
Never. You never picked against them this year.
I did twice last year.
Oh, twice. Oh, wow.
I actually a few times.
I bet you can't even name the teams that you picked to beat them. What teams did you pick to beat them?
Last year, I'm pretty sure I called Dallas.
I am so going back and looking at that video.
I left it 50-50.
Oh, now I left it 50-50. You just said you picked against them.
Maybe not full pick, but I predicted that I thought we were going to lose.
I like stirring you up. Okay.
Kansas City last week opened the season. I'm pretty sure I did not guarantee a win or pick them to fully win that game either.
The hell you say? That was one. We're definitely winning this game.
I wanted it.
Sunday night football. We've got the Indianapolis Colts with Joe Flacco as the quarterback. Going to play against the Minnesota Vikings. They've had a little extra time here to prepare because of the Thursday night debacle last week. And I just think that the Minnesota defense will get back on track with their blitz packages against Flacco. I think that the Colts have had a rough time running the football. I know they may get Jonathan Taylor back, and, he'll be available to run. But I just like Minnesota's defense against the Colts, and that means that if their offense does well, I got to go with the Vikings on Sunday Night Football.
I got Vikings, but Jonathan Taylor was back last week.
Oh.
So he should be playing, but I still got the Vikings.
Tampa Bay Buccaneers come off a loss to the Atlanta Falcons. Of course, Kansas City Chiefs are undefeated here for Monday Night Football. This is a tough matchup. I think it is a tough matchup because you don't know how Tampa Bay is going to attack Kansas City without their top two targets. What kind of stuff are they going to throw at them? Are the between the tight ends, between the running backs, are they going to have some? I think this is a trick play game for sure. Tampa's going to have a trick play in there. Okay. Their kicker can kick some pretty good field goals. I think that Kansas City has still, to this day, 4 years later, a vendetta against the Buccaneers for beating them in the Super Bowl. I'm worried about this game. Okay, I'm worried about this game. I don't think that, Kansas City is not going to boat race them by any stretch of the imagination, because I think Tampa Bay is a really good team, even though they're missing their wide receivers. But I'm concerned about this being a Tampa Bay 23, Kansas City 20 kind of game. But they're playing on Monday night. They're going to have the crowd into it, which is going to be a help to them. I think they're going to run the football because Atlanta was able to run the football. And they've got some wide receivers, that are similar to what, Atlanta's got. Atlanta hung on for dear life in that game last week because they don't have the kind of defense that Kansas City does. I'm going to take the Kansas City Chiefs to win this game, but only by a field goal.
I got the Buccaneers. Something my gut tells me Baker's about to be running around with his head cut off, making crazy plays, and I think the Buccaneers win by a field goal or maybe even 1 point from a 2-point conversion.
Well, there you have it. There is our podcast for the Tuesday Night Spectacular. Please comment. Leave some comments. Leave some questions. Chris, put up some kind of a poll for people to answer. Answer questions. Do some kind of fun thing for us. Let's get us going here. We're going into the midway point of the season, which means next Tuesday night we will have our mid-season awards as we're at the mid-season point. We'll preview Week 10 in the NFL, and we'll recap Week number 9. Thanks, everybody, for joining us. Be sure to like and subscribe. Catch our broadcast on NFL Renegades, Christopher Serra Jr., David Llewellyn, all of our private pages. Catch us on YouTube, Spotify, Twitch. I think I got them all this time.
Yes, you did. And the video will be live later tonight or early tomorrow morning, first thing in the morning. If you didn't catch us, you can catch us on Spotify.
You can immediately watch the replay on YouTube following the conclusion of this broadcast.
That too. Fourth to Go Sports.
Thank you all for watching. Like and subscribe. We'll see you next week for another edition right here.
Have a good night, guys. Later.
Thanks,
good night,
Chris.
David. No problem, buddy.
Thanks,
Ron. We'll see you all next week. See you later, Ron.